Hello guys, and welcome to the Arena Compendium you have all been waiting for Kobolds and Catacombs. Yes, in this video we're gonna rate every card in Arena drafting from the new set, from 0 stars to 5 stars. You know, 5 stars being like, you know, YOLO Slam Jam, you always play it, like your Bone Mares and Scale Banes, and then your 0 stars being your Humongous Razor Leafs and whatever, yeah? So, that's basically the rating scale we're gonna use. And let's start with the legendaries for each class, and then go to commons to epics, and then we'll rate all the neutrals afterwards, yes? Alright, starting with Druid. Druid's legendary weapon is Twig of the World Tree. It's 4 mana, 1/5 weapon. You gain 10 mana crystals when it dies, which is interesting because they're full mana crystals. You can use them immediately. So, you know, you equip this on 4, you hit every turn, and then turn 8, you kind of get a turn with 18 mana. Because you can play 8 mana, you can break it, and then you get 10 mana again. And then it ramps you a little bit. This card is terrible in late game, right? Like, if you draw this late game, it's really, really bad. It's like a Light's Justice that not only costs 4, but like, sure, you can heal power to make it deal 2 damage, but it's gonna be very bad late game. And in Arena, a lot of times, ramping is good if you ramp very, very early on, right? Like, late game ramp doesn't really matter. Late game is all about like cards, card advantage, and like board pressure, right? This doesn't give you either one. It's 4 mana, deal 5 damage. Sure, that's pretty good, but you have to like split them up in over 5 turns. Yeah, I'm pretty off this legendary. I think it's pretty shitty. I'm just gonna give this like a 1 star. I don't think you actually want to draft this. You want to pick the other legendaries. It's actually quite bad. We have Ixlid Fungal Lord for the next one. 5 mana, 2/4 elemental. Legendary, with a text: after you play a minion, summon a copy of it. So this is like every card you play has Faceless Manipulator attached to it. That is insane. No, that is actually ridiculous in Arena, because, you know, a 5 mana 4 health creature is not that hard to kill in Arena, especially if your opponent has no board. And imagine if you play this on like turn 10, right? You play Fungal Lord and you play it 5-drop, like any 5-drop in Arena, like a 5/5, right? You just made like a big board. And this 2/4 also has taunt, so they have to deal with it, which means that they can't deal with your 5/5s. So I feel like that this can this is like really good in Arena. You can either curve it out on 5 or play it late game along with something else to kind of blow out your opponent, especially with taunts as well. So I'm gonna give this 4 stars. I think the stats is holding it back from 5 stars, but I think it's really powerful. Alright, onwards to the commons. Oaken Summons. 4 mana, gain 6 armor as a spell, and then you get to recruit a minion that costs 4 or less. Recruit is a new mechanic where it's kind of like the Yashiraj effect. Pulls out a minion from your deck, puts it directly onto the battlefield, and it does not activate any battle cries, right? Because you just pulled it up from your deck. So 4 mana, gain 6 is pretty bad. You don't want to ever play 4 mana, gain 6 armor spell, but it does give you a 4-drop at best. At worst, it gives you like a 2-drop. But, okay, say it's the worst case, right? Let's not put 1-drop, because that's pretty bad, right? Let's say you get a 2 mana 3/2, right? So this is a 4 mana 3/2 that gains 6 armor as a battle cry. Like, that is not bad. There are a lot of situations where you need to stabilize the board, and 4 mana 3/2 gain 6 armor is completely fine. So when you draft Oaken Summons, you want to draft higher end cards, such as like 7 drops, 8 drops, you know, more control style with a lot of AoEs and stuff like that. Because, you know, you just can't get out-tempoed out, right? So if you draft such a control deck, then Oaken Summons is actually pretty good. So I think this is, you know, I think this is reasonable. I would give this 3 stars. You would play this in those, you know, higher end Druid decks with like Primordial Drakes, with like Charged Devilsaur to kind of trade 2 for 1, and this will stabilize the board until you get there. Well, look at that. There's a very good target for Oaken Summons with Ironwood Golem. 4 mana 3/6 taunt, so that's very over budgeted, right? It's like basically a Fang Creeper, but can only attack if you have 3 or more armor. Now, 3 or more armor is kind of hard to get in Arena, for sure, because you can't actually put in cards that give you armor like in Constructed, right? So you have Gnash, you have Bite, Claw can also work, and then you have Ultimate Infestation, of course. But This reminds me kind of like Tar Creeper, where Tar Creeper was a 3 mana, it's kind of like a 3 mana 3/5 taunt, right? That can attack for 1 damage. So if you compare Tar Creeper to this, then Tar Creeper is obviously much better. This is still a very good pick because sometimes you can just attack and your opponent has to kind of deal with this. It's kind of like a wall. So I would give this 4 stars. I think this is actually a very high pick in Arena just because your opponent kind of needs to get rid of this, and then you can put your more strong cards at the back line, such as, you know, things that make more stuff, things that say at the end of the turn do this. So I think this is pretty good. Quark Skin, it's a 1 mana spell. You give a minion +3 health, and then you also gain 3 armor yourself. So this is not technically get 6 health, right? This is basically gain 3 health with a little bit of a bonus of gain 3 armor. Okay, gain 3 armor, you can activate your other cards, so that's kind of cute. But this is kind of like a Power Shield without a card draw. Now, how good is Power Shield? Power Shield is insane, right? Power Shield is like auto pick 5 stars when you're playing Priest, because you get to bump up a minion and you get to trade off with something. Say you have like, you know, early game you have a 3/2 against a 3/2, and then you play Quark Skin on it, you basically made a 3/2 for 1 mana, right? If you trade. So there are some board states that this is pretty good. The gain 3 armor, I'm not gonna, you know, really care about that much. So I think Quark Skin is a fair, it's fine card. Like, you wouldn't be happy to pick it, you wouldn't be unhappy to pick it. So that's a very typical 2-star card, right? 2 stars is like the bare minimum. Like, you'll be happy to take it, but you're not like super excited. Jasper Spellstone is the first Spellstone of the series. Each class is gonna get a Spellstone. They're all at rare, and they all do something. They all upgrade themselves when you're holding it in your hand and you do their upgrade thing. So for the Druid Spellstone, it's a 1 mana deal 2 damage to a minion, and then every time you gain 3 armor, it upgrades to the next version, which is deal 4 damage for still 1 mana, and then the last version is deal 6 damage to a minion and still 1 mana. Like, this is really good because Holy Smite and Arcane Shot are very, very playable. Sure, you can argue that it doesn't go face, but usually you don't Holy Smite or Arcane Shot to face. Okay, fine, if you're hunting Arcane Shot to face. But the thing is, like, usually you want to remove minions because this is a very good tempo swing, right? It's 1 mana, remove your 2-drop, 1 mana, remove your 3-drop even, and then you can play more stuff, right? This can actually get better. And 1 mana dealing 4 damage is kind of breaking the game, right? Like, 1 mana deal 4 damage is ridiculous. And then 1 mana 6 damage is 1 mana assassinate. Like, that is really, really good, right? Naturalize is actually a good arena card when you really want to go for the tempo game. And this asks you to gain 3 armor, which, well, if you don't have any of the new Druid cards that gain you 3 armor, or like, you know, the Bites and Gnashes and Claws and stuff like that, you can also just use your hero power 3 times. And that's not a hard ask, I think. So I think the Druid Spellstone is really good in Arena. I will give this 4 stars. I think that you'll be very happy to get this over the other rares. Next we have Grizzled Guardian, 8 mana 3/5 beast as taunt. And then when it dies, you get 2 minions that cost 4 or less from your deck onto the battlefield. You know, it's fine. If you add all the stats up, it's pretty good. Because if you do get 2 4-drops, then, you know, this could get there's a lot of value in this card. Obviously, it's easy to run into silences in Arena rather than Constructed. Constructed, you don't get to play against a lot of silences, right? So this effect can probably sometimes doesn't go off, but when it goes off pretty well because you're gonna get a lot of 3-drops and a lot of 4-drops that are very nice, right? And even if it gets 2-drops, it's completely fine. So I think this stabilizes the board very, very well. I really like this card, especially with the new 4 mana 3/6 Iron Golem. You're gonna probably make this recruit deck work, right? It's not big ask for you to draft 2, 3, and 4 drops. So I think Grizzled Guardian gets a very cool 3 stars. Next we have Greedy Sprite. It's a 3 mana 3/1 Death Rattle. Gain an empty mana crystal. So it's a delayed Wild Growth or a delayed, you know, Jade Blossom, I guess you put it. 3 mana 3/1 is very aggressively statted, which is very good for this card. Like, if this card was a 3 mana 1/3, it would be much worse Because if your opponent ignores it, you can just hit for 3 in the face, or you can just trade with a 4/3 and they get extra benefit, right? Or they can spend their turn to ping it down, so then they spend 2 mana to kill your 3 mana creature, but you get to ramp up. So I think this is very strong. Obviously it sucks late game, but the 3/1 stat line is actually fine. Like, you play this on turn 3 and you probably are gonna run away with the game. I don't think this is good in multiples. So the first one is really good. I think the first one is 3 stars. And then I wouldn't want to draft a second or a third one because they do get really bad when you top deck it. Next we have Branching Paths. You get to choose twice for 4 mana. So you get to choose 2. You get to choose 2 of these. Draw a card, so you can draw 2. You can choose the same move twice. You can give your minions +1 attack, or you can gain 6 armor. I think this is ridiculous in Arena because it is so versatile. Yeah, you can split it down however much you want, and it's good in every stage of the game, right? It can help you close out a game. If your opponent is doing nothing, there's a lot of decks that do nothing, right? Where if you play against like a priest, or, you know, if you play against a druid, there's a lot of time they just wrap up, or they just, you know, heal themselves or draw cards or whatever. This can be a big punish because it's not like Savage Roar, right? This gives the minions permanent attack. It always stays there. And then, well, if it's late game and you need more card draw, it's 4 mana, draw 2, Arcane Intellect, which is like not insane, but the fact that you can choose which mode you want based on the situation makes this a very strong card. I think this is 4 stars. Like, you really want this in Arena. You beat face hunter decks, you beat the control decks by drawing cards, and you also beat the mid-range decks because you want to go face with the attack. So I think this is really good. Next is Astro Tiger. For 4 mana, you get a 3/5. It's not a beast. When it dies, you shuffle this into your deck. So it's like Malorn 2.0. where it's you know, a bit smaller. I don't like this card at all because a 4 mana 3/5 is not breaking the game at all. And the fact that it shuffles itself into your deck is actually a bad thing. Why this card exists is because of Recruit, because you know, wow, you can recruit 4 drops, right? And then you get Astro Tiger, and then when Astro Tiger dies, they put it back in your deck, and then you get to recruit again. But come on, guys. It's a 4 mana 3/5 with no text, right? It might as well be a vanilla card. And this is even worse than a vanilla card. You do not want 4 mana 3/5s in your deck. So I think Astro Tiger is pretty poor. I'm just gonna give it 1 star. You wouldn't want this. So as we can see, Druid's got a lot of fine cards. And interestingly enough, because of the Recruit 4 mechanic, Wild Growth gets a lot better. So when you see Wild Growth, I would pick it very, very highly. And when you have a lot of ramp, I would pick the 4 drops really, really highly as well. Alright, onwards to Hunters. Ooh, let's see what Hunters are getting for their legendary... Oh. Rock Jailor is a 7 mana weapon. So 7 mana 4/2. Okay, it should have a cool effect, right? Battlecry. If your deck has no minions, fill your hand with Hunter spells. Well, unfortunately in Arena, you're gonna get minions, and you know, that's just the Arcane Reaper that's 1 less attack and 2 more mana. The only way this can work is if you're fatiguing and then your deck has no cards. And if your deck has no cards, it obviously has no minions. And then by that point, I'm asking you, what the hell are you doing? You're a hunter. You're supposed to go face and you're supposed to win on turn 5. Okay? So Rock Jailor is like terrible. It's not 0, it's still 1 star because a weapon is always useful. But hopefully you don't get to pick this. You still need to pick this if you have like Millhouse and Cho, for example, because they're 0 stars, right? So that's why there's 1 star. But pray that this is not your legendary pick. And instead, it is Katharina Winter Wisp. 8 mana 6/6 with Battlecry and Death Rattle. Recruit a beast. Katharina is ridiculous in Arena, right? It's absolutely ridiculous. It's 8 mana 6/6 that you get a beast. It can get anywhere from a 2 mana 3/2 to like a freaking Savannah Jaime. And you're obviously going to draft those cards because, you know, Hunter Beasts are just great cards, right? There's Corpse Widow, there's you know, there's a lot of new beasts that are also really good. That's, you know, they're not expensive, but they're still good to pick. And then what? Your opponent just has to ignore the 6/6 because when she dies, she gets you another beast in your deck. Yeah, this is a YOLO Slam Jam. You're gonna be super happy with this 5-star card. You want this. once again, back to the comments, we have Flanking Strike for 4. It's a spell. Deal 3 damage to a minion. Summon a 3/3 wolf. That's a beast. That is ridiculous, right? Like, Phoenix is one of the best cards in Arena, and it's a neutral, right? 4 mana 3/3 deal 2 damage. This is 4 mana 3/3 deal 3 damage, right? You can also think of it as like a 4 mana 3/3 Divine Shield charge. And that is just like a Silver Moon Guardian on steroids. So Flanking Strike is a very easy 5 stars. Like, it's very easy 5 stars. Obviously, it can't go face, right? Because Phoenix can go face, and Hunters like going face. But come on, like, this is like a mind control early game. So really, really powerful. Cave Hydra is next. It's a 3 mana 2/4 beast with also damages the minion next to whoever this attacks. This is really good, right? Like, if you guys haven't played with the cleave effects are really powerful. They were located in the previous expansions, but they were not very aggressively statted. This one is, because it has 4 health. Imagine if you use Cave Hydra to hit a small minion, you effectively consecrate their board, right? 3 mana consecration, and then if this lives, you get another consecration. If you buff this with a Houndmaster, you get double consecration. Like, Cave Hydra can get really out of hand, and I think it's like a very easy pick. I think it's a 4-star card. Like, very, very powerful if your opponent can't deal with it. And usually, if you're a Hunter, they can't, because you're going to draft a lot of 1-drops, you're going to draft a lot of 2-drops, and then when we play this, they go like, oh shoot. All my token generating cards are just going to be useless. Candle Shot. It's a 1 mana 1/3 weapon, so a little bit worse than Light's Justice, but it has immune while attacking. I think this is really good. Like, Light's Justice is a very nice card already. And the fact that you get a little bit of extra benefit of Candle Shot so you can trade minions, I think that's completely fine. Like, 1 mana deal 3 damage to minions, split across whatever you want, is really good, right? This, when you have Candle Shot, cards like Grievous Bite, cards that AoE your opponent, like Explosive Trap, they get better. Because effectively you're giving them spell damage, right? You can just pick off the ones that you don't really you can't really kill off. So I think Candle Shot is really strong. I would be very happy to start with 1 immediately, and then maybe the second one is not that good, since, you know, you're gonna draft your Eagle Horn Bows or whatever, right? So I think Candle Shot, the first one, is really good. I'll give it 3 stars. Multiples are a little bit worse. A new Hunter secret, of course. 2 mana Wandering Monster. It's a secret. When an enemy attacks a hero, so it clues to their enemy if they have a weapon, summon a 3-cost minion as the new target. So first of all, you want to say, oh my god, 2 mana summon a random 3-drop. That's really good. And yes, that would be really good if you can get it immediately. This has like the Explosive Trap syndrome, where it's really good against bad players and really bad against good players. Because when I play against Hunter and they have like a secret up, I just don't attack their face at all. Because, you know, I just attack their face when they're out of stuff, right? That's how you bait up Explosive Trap. That's how you bait up Misdirection. And this suffers from the same problem. So I think this is not a good card if you want to get 12 wins in Arena. I'm just going to give this 2 stars. I'm not a big fan of this. I think this is kind of like a bear trap. Seeping Oozling is 6 mana 5/4 rare. It's a best battle cry. Gain the death rattle of a random minion in your deck. Now, in Arena, you're not going to force the issue too much, right? For example, in Constructed, you can just put in 2 high mains and put in Katharina, and then all your death rattle effects are good. In Arena, you have to pick your Harvest Golem sometimes. And when you do, this is not as good as it could be, right? Like, the potential is not as good because it's kind of random. Obviously, you know when this is good, because when you have a lot of good death rattle minions, you're gonna go like, wow, I'll just pick this up. But 6 mana 5/4 is still pretty low stats. I'm not excited to pick this card. And the fact that you pick it early and you pick it late, they're both problems in your Arena drafting. I'm just gonna give this a 2-star card. Next we have the Hunter Spellstone. It's 5 mana. Summon 2 3/3 wolves. How you upgrade it is you play a secret while this is in your hand, and then the next versions are you get 3 wolves and then you get 4 wolves afterwards. The first version is pretty good already, right? It reminds me kind of like Doppelgangster. 3 2/2s is kind of like 2 3/3s. And then if you play a secret, then it gets pretty ridiculous, because 3 3/3s is a 5 mana 9/9, right? Like, it can get pretty damn good. It's gonna be pretty hard to have both of these to actually upgrade it. I think you're gonna if you have like, you know, 2 secrets and 1 spellstone, you're gonna probably upgrade it once or twice over your 12 game match, I guess. So it's a little bit better than summon 2 3/3s, but I'm still gonna give this a 3 stars. I think this is fine even if you have no secrets, right? 5 mana summon 2 3/3s is completely fine. It's like 6/6 split across 2 bodies, and in Hunter it's better because the 3/3s go face anyways, right? So if your opponent has like a big creature like Boulderfist Ogre, they don't actually get to kill your 6/6 off. They just kill off 1 3/3 and your other 3/3 can go face. So it's pretty good. Oh god. 6 mana Hunter spell to my side. Summon an Animal Companion. So you would not want to play a 6 mana summon an Animal Companion where there's a 3 mana card that says Animal Companion that does the same thing. So this is actually a 0. You would not want to do this. Sure, it does something when you play it, but like, oh god, like this is not how you want to do it, man. Like, please try and avoid this card. 7 mana Crushing Walls is the next epic card. Destroy your opponent's left and rightmost minions. This is actually pretty good. I think this doesn't only belong in a control hunter styled draft. It can also belong in like a normal draft because like you're still playing arena, right? People are gonna be, you know, playing good cards, and Crushing Walls is gonna crush Bone Mare so hard, right? When your opponent has 1 big minion and they play Bone Mare on it, you kill their big minion and you kill their Bone Mare for 7. That is absolutely ridiculous. So I think this is really good, especially if you draft like a normal hunter deck where you have like a lot of small minions. The way it works, you want to hit your opponent's face with minions, and then you just want to remove all your opponent's threats, right? Get rid of their taunts, get rid of their lifesteal, because they're the 2 most main cheat mechanics that, you know, face hunters. So I think Crushing Walls is really good. I'm gonna give this 4 stars. Very, very strong. Multiple copies, obviously pretty bad because it's very expensive, but really, really good card. So Hunter got a lot of really, really powerful cards. As long as you don't get the weird spells only Hunter cards in Arena, Hunter's gonna be great, man. I think Hunters are going to do really well in Arena. Onwards to Mage. What is the OP Arena class getting this time? Well, the legendary weapon for Mage is Alunef. 6 mana 0/3 weapon, so you can't attack with it. At the end of your turn, draw 3 cards. This is absolutely bonkers. Nourish is very playable in Arena because you know, sometimes late game you just want to get more stuff, right? This is 1 mana extra, but you get to nourish every turn for free after the first turn. Like, this is absolutely just ridiculous. New players might first evaluate this card and go like, wow, this card is kind of bad because you're gonna mill yourself, right? No, this is really good because people play Fel Reaver all the time back then, and people still play Keening Banshee, and those cards are really, really good tempo based. This is just like off the charts good, right? And even if your opponent removes this with an Ooze, you still played a Nourish. Even though it's a little bit for 1 mana extra, it doesn't matter. You just YOLO slam pick this. This is insane. It fits into every Mage Arena deck. 5 out of 5. Absolutely ridiculous. The legendary that Mage is getting is Dragon Caller Alana. 9 mana 3/3, so it better have something good. Well, it does have something good. Battlecry, you summon a 5/5 dragon. For each spell you cast this game that costs 5 or more. So this doesn't need to be in your hand, right? You can just, you know, play your spells normally. And in Arena, it's really good because you're gonna pick every single Blizzard you see. You're gonna pick every single Firelands Portal and Flamestrike you see. So that's already like cards that you're gonna get. There are a few cards that we're gonna see later that also cost 5. That makes this even better. And the fact that this can win the game by herself is absolutely insane, right? Like, if you have 1 proc, that's like a 9 mana 8/8, that's still very serviceable. There's a lot of 9 mana 8/8s in the game, Naz Dormu, Alex Straza. But then the ceiling of this is really, really good. And it just asks you to draft some spells. So I think this is pretty nice. It's a 4-star card. Alright. Onwards to the commons. We have Raven Familiar as a common, 2 mana 2/2 beast with a battle cry. Reveal a spell in each deck. If yours costs more, draw it. Oh god, Joust is bad. Joust is just a terrible mechanic. I hate Joust. I wish it was not in the game, but here we are. So basically this is a 2-mana 2/2 that draws half a card, because in Arena, you're not going to able to force your deck to have all the expensive spells, right? And you're not going to force your opponent to not have expensive spells, right? So if they have like Ultimate Infestation, they probably don't have Wild Growth because, well, they might not have drafted it, unlike Constructed. Still good card, even though it's a little bit RNG. 2-mana 2/2 with an extra upside is always playable. So it's a 3-star card. Like, you're just going to pick this and you're still going to be happy. And every time you play this, one player is going to be very salty. Next, we have Arcane Artificer, a 1-mana 1/2 elemental with whenever you cast a spell, gain armor equal to its cost. Now, this is actually just garbage because in Arena, you never want to gain armor, especially not on a 1-mana 1/2, which does not trade for ass. Sure, as an elemental tag, but like, I will never want to play a 1-mana 1/2 just for that. Yeah, this is just garbage. It's 1-star. Shifting Scroll is a question mark mana cost because you're never gonna cast Shifting Scroll. Each turn this is in your hand, you get to transform it into a random mage spell. So of course, you know, I predicted this before. We have Shift Zerus that transforms into random minions, and then we have Molten Blade that transforms into random weapons. I was a little bit off. I thought this would transform into any random spell, but they made it just a random mage spell, which is arguably even better because mage spells is better than any spell, right? Like, if you look at all the mage spells, they all either just AoE the board, deal damage, or draw cards. And that's really, really good, right? Like, you always pick Shifting Scroll in Arena every single time. It's ridiculous. It's like 4 stars. Like, you would just pick this. Primordial Glyph might be better because not only does it get you the refund, which is the same as this card, you get to actually discover it. So Primordial Glyph will be 5 stars. This is very close behind. So yeah, good card. Next we have the Spellstone for mages. It's the Ruby Spellstone. You add a random mage spell to your hand for 2 mana. After you play 2 elementals, you can upgrade it to the next version, which is 2 random mage spells, and then the final version is 3 random mage spells. This one is a little bit of a trap because you would go like, wow, this is really good. It's exactly the same as Primordial Glyph. No, it's not, because it doesn't give you the mana back. So effectively, you're playing a 2-mana draw card, and those cards are usually not good in Arena. Good examples are Flare, right? That does something, doesn't really do much for a draw card, or like Purify, or Shiv. Shiv is a better example, I guess. Purify is like, what are you doing with your life, right? So this is actually pretty bad. It asks you to play 2 elementals upgraded, and that's even worse. Because in Arena, you're not going to have too many elementals, especially in the Arena coming up. We're going to be drafting from 5 different sets, right? Like 5 sets of cards. You're not going to get your elementals that you want. And you still have to play 2. Now, this is too big of an ask, and I think this is not really that good. I'm going to just give this 1 star. I don't think you would want this. Explosive Runes, 3-mana secret, which is, you know, what all mage secrets cost. After your opponent plays a minion, you deal 6 damage to it, and any excess damage goes to their face. This is fine. It reminds me of Mirror Entity, where you know, when your opponent plays a minion, you get to deal with it. It's arguably a little bit worse than Mirror Entity because if your opponent plays a 5/5, for example, you can always trade their 5/5 with your 5/5, right? Or you can fireball their 5/5 and then you get a 5/5. So this is kind of an interesting. It's kind of an interesting decision you have when you play Mirror Entity. Explosive Runes just kills the creature outright, and then you get a little bit more face damage attached to it. So even though it's a little bit worse than Mirror Entity, I'll give the same rating to Mirror Entity as this card. I still think this is 3 stars. This is pretty good if you play on turn 5 or turn 6, where they're gonna play, you know, those big cards. And of course, it's pretty bad against those Battlecry minions such as, you know, Serenade Chain Gang or you know, Bone Mares, because, you know, their effect already kind of goes off. But I think this is still a very serviceable card that gets to pick off some stuff. Leyline Manipulator is a 4-mana 4/5 elemental with Battlecry. If you're holding any cards that didn't start in your deck, reduce the cost by 2. So you're telling me that mages are gonna get a 4-mana 4/5. Okay, that's fine. It's an elemental. Okay, that's better than Yeti now. And it has a busted Battlecry. Okay, this is like an easy YOLO Slam Jam 5 stars. It's very easy to get cards that don't start in your deck in Arena. It's so easy, right? Flame Geyser makes a flame elemental that works. All the mage spells that you get randomly from Babbling Book, from like Shimmering Tempest, from all the new mage cards work. All the Discover cards also work. And it's just not spells, right? It's all cards. So this is ridiculous. If you get to activate this on one card, you drew 2 Innervates. It's a 4 mana 4/5 elemental that draws 2 Innervates for each card you discover, basically, right? Slam jam. Next, we have a interesting card. Deck of Wonders is the epic 5 mana mage spell with shuffle 5 scrolls into your deck. And then when you draw them, you get to, you know, cast a random spell, right? From Scroll of Wonder. Very interesting card because it's kind of like a delayed Yogg-Saron. It's a Yogg-Saron that always casts 5 spells, but they don't cast it immediately. You shuffle in your deck and they kind of pop out whenever they kind of want. It's a good thing that the scrolls don't actually suck a card out of you. So when you draw a scroll, you get to draw the next card. So, you know, otherwise this card would be really bad, right? I actually think that this card is pretty good. It's a very weird card, but let me explain, okay? If you look at all the spells in all of Hearthstone, there's a lot of spells that are one-sided, right? All secrets are always good for you. All card draws are always good for you. So that's already pretty good, right? There are cards that only target your opponent's stuff. So you have stuff like Assassinate, you have stuff like Sap, you have stuff like Swipe, and then you have stuff like Mind Blast, right? There's a lot of cards that are always just good for you. And then obviously there are those cards that are kind of RNG, you know, like your Fireballs and whatever that can target anything. But those are like in the minority. I think Deck of Wonders is actually pretty good. Because A, your opponent can't play around it, and the board states are going to get very weird. I compared this a lot to Dr. 5, which I like to call Servant of Yogg-Saron, 5 mana 5/4 that casts a random spell when you play it, right? Like, I think that card is really good because it can do some busted stuff. I think this card is also better if you can actually get more board, because there are also a lot of cards that buff a minion, right? Like Blessing of Kings kind of type of cards. And so if you can get a board and you can play this, then it's pretty good. I think this is great. I think this is a great card in Arena, and I'll be happy to draft this too. So I give this a 3-star. Yeah, Deck of Wonders gets the Arena Specialist stamp of approval. All right, next one we have Dragon's Fury, 5 mana mage spell that reveals a spell from your deck, and then it deals damage equal to its cost to all minions. So it's kind of like a Hellfire or Dragonfire potion, if you may, that deals damage depending on what card you draw. Well, this card synergizes with Deck of Wonders, because Deck of Wonders shuffles 5 mana spells in your deck. Whoa, wow, synergy. No, I think this card is great. Like, AoE cards are always going to be good in Arena, and when you draft this, then you're going to avoid the 1 mana spells like the Plague, right? You're not going to draft any Arcane Missiles or any Mirror Images, which is fine because those cards are not really that good anyways. You know, the worst case Dragon's Fury can get is like Frostbolt or Primordial Glyph, because those cards you just YOLO Slam Jam when you're playing Mage, and then you deal 2 damage to everything. So yeah, that's like the worst case, but AoEs is always just going to be good. So yeah, I think this is 4 stars. I think when you Dragon's Fury and you get like anything 4 cost or above, then you effectively just got a Flame Strike, right? Sure, it deals damage to your own minions, but you can play around it because you're holding the card. You're not gonna freaking play Dragon's Fury when you have 3 minions on the board, okay? So don't be stupid. So if we look at all the mage cards are pretty good. Especially the Leyline Elemental, and if you're lucky enough, the Legendary Weapon, which is just like, you win, you know? Next up, we have Paladin. Okay, Paladin is always the most balanced arena class in the fact that it's always really strong. But then you can also get decks of Paladin that's really, really bad. What are they getting for their legendary weapon? And oh my god! Valinir is a 6 mana 4/2 weapon with Death Rattle. Give a minion in your hand +4/+2. So your minion gets to equip this weapon, right? If you think about it. And then when you play it and it dies, you get to re-equip Valinir immediately. This is bonkers. Okay? Like, recursive effects in Arena are really, really good. Right? This is like the pinnacle of value. You will always pick this card. this is utterly ridiculous. +4/+2 is also a very good stat line because it's very aggressive. This would be a little bit worse if it's +2/+4 for the minion, because you want the minion to put a lot of pressure on your opponent's face, and then you want your opponent to kill it so that you can re-equip this, right? Yeah, this is actually just bonkers. There's also a hidden interaction with this, is that if you activate this on Serenade Chain Gang or Doppelgangster, you get to actually duplicate it, right? Because it summons a copy of itself. Dude, imagine if you put this on Doppelgangster. You get 3 Valenirs, and then your opponent just AoEs the board, like Flame Strike, and then you get to re-equip 3 Valenirs, and then you get all the Death Rattle triggers, and then you get more Valenirs. Yeah, this is like... I don't see how anybody can win against this if they don't have silence immediately for your first minion, right? Because if they don't silence the first minion that's holding Valenir, and they silence the second one, you already got like 4 recursions, right? You got 2 Valenir weapons, and you got 2 buffs on your minions. And this is hands down the most ridiculous card. I'm just gonna give this 6 stars for now, because there is no other legendary you want to pick over this. You would pick this card like over everything in the game currently. Wow. Jeez. Alright, next up, the Paladin legendary is Lynessa Sunsorrow. 7 mana 1/1, so that's kind of Ellie Giggle. What does she have? Well, it battle cries, cast each spell you cast on your minions this game on this one. So it duplicates all your minion buffs, such as, you know, Blessing of Kings, Spike Ridge Steed, which is pretty good. You get Silver Moon Portals and whatnot. So this is very, very risky in Arena, okay? It's very, very risky. When you draft and you see this early on, it's really hard to draft this, because if you draft this and you never see a minion buff, then you got a 7 mana 1/1 in your deck, and that's pretty bad. The flip side is better, right? The flip side is, you know, you draft your Spike Steed, you draft your Blessing of Kings, because those are auto draft, right? That's like really, really powerful cards. And then you see Lynessa, then you know how good she is. And she is really good if you only have 1 Spike Steed, right? 7 mana 3/7 that dies into a 2/6 is pretty good. So I think this is a very high risk card, especially if you get it early on. So I'm gonna give this 3 stars. I think if you get 2 minion buffs, then this is actually breaking the game. And I'm not gonna care about silence effects or entomb effects. Ooh, spooky. No, who cares about that, okay? Like, if you get 2 minion buffs, it's okay. But still a very high risk legendary. Onwards to Dry Gulch Jailor. It's a 2 mana 1/1 minion with Death Rattle. Add 3 Silverhand recruits to your hand. So it's a 2 mana 1/1 that draws 3 when it dies, but it draws 3 1/1s. They're 1 mana 1/1s. This is actually kind of good in Arena, because there is the hand buff mechanic, right? Where you're gonna always be playing your Grime Street +1/+1s, the 5 mana 4/4, and you're always gonna play Smuggler's Run, and you're always gonna play the 2 mana 1/1 that buffs all your minions. Like, there's a lot of value for this. From the Gadsden cards. So I think this is fine. And the fact that 1 mana 1/1s, you can always squeeze it into your curve, because sometimes you just float 1 mana all the time. I think this is just fine. I think this is a fine card. So I'll give this 3 stars. Next we have Benevolent Djinn. It's a 3 mana 2/4 elemental. At the end of your turn, restore 3 health to your hero. This is a pretty good card. It's kind of like a Farseer that's a bit better, right? Because Farseer only activates once. Sure, Farseer can target minions, but this activates at the end of every turn. So if you're playing against a deck that really wants to get your HP down to 0, this is very, very strong, because it's effectively a 3 mana 2/4 taunt. And it's also an elemental, so Paladins can now draft you know, Servant of Kalimos and be be pretty happy about that. There's like Tovir Stone Shaper, you know, all those elemental synergies gets a little bit better from the neutral sides. So yeah, Benevolent Djinn is fine. You pretty much always pick this. So 4-star card. Potion of Heroism is 2 mana, give a minion Divine Shield, and then draw a card. This is actually pretty bonkers. If you think about it, it's kind of like a Argent Protector, but instead of getting a 2/2 body, you get to draw a card. And sometimes, arguably, that's better. And the good part of this, compared to Death Speaker, is that Death Speaker is a 3 mana 2/4 that you need to trade immediately, right? If you give a minion immune to end of turn, you have to trade. This one you don't have to trade. You can just pop it on a minion and then just go on with your day, right? So trading with this is good. Going face with this is also pretty good because your opponent has to deal with your Divine Shield anyways. So I think this should be a very high pick. I'm gonna give this 4 stars. Way better than Purify. Next we have Unidentified Maul. It's a 3 mana 2/2 weapon that gains a bonus effect when you draw it. So basically it turns into either Battlecry, summon 2 1/1s, Battlecry, give your minions Divine Shield, Battlecry, give your minions +1 attack, or Battlecry, give your minions taunt. Obviously giving your minions taunt is the worst effect, but it might still be relevant in Arena sometimes when you really don't want your opponent to go face because you're very low health and you have a lot of big creatures. Like this can come up pretty often, and it can also protect your bigger and more effective minions such as like Cult Master, right? So the worst situation is pretty fine, and then the other options are utterly just out of this world. 3 mana 2/2 summon 2 1/1s is pretty much must for battle, right? Like that's really really good. And then giving your all your minions Divine Shield is kind of breaking the game. Giving your minions +1 attack is fine, but it's also permanent, right? So it's like a little bit better too. So I think the Maul is an easy 5-star card, like very very easy. All the modes are fine, and it's always going to be relevant. It reminds me of Coghammer quite a bit. It's only a 2/2 weapon, but at the end of the day, weapons are weapons in Arena, and they're very very powerful. So yeah, I would just auto pick this card. The Paladin Spellstone is the Pearl one. You get it's a 2 mana card that summons a 2/2 Spirit of Taunt, and every time you restore 3 health, you get to upgrade this into the next version, which is actually, instead of multiplying the minion, you actually make it bigger. So it's a 2 mana 4/4 Taunt for mode 2, and the last mode is a 2 mana 6/6 taunt. 2 mana 6/6 taunt is really really good. It asks you to restore health, which is kind of weird in Arena, but there is the new Jin that came out. This also works if you split it up, right? If you play True Silver Champion and you hit twice, you restore 4 health. So it does upgrade to a 2 mana 4/4. The fact that it's a 2 mana 2/2 taunt for 2 mana at worst makes this pretty playable. Like 2 mana 2/2 taunts, while it's not that good, Frost Wolf Grunt, it's still playable because 2 drops in Arena are really really good. So the worst case situation is already pretty good, and then the fact that sometimes it gets to be bigger makes it better. So this card is fine. 3 stars. Crystal Lion goes Roar because it's a 6 mana 5/5 Divine Shield, which is already really nice. It has a bonus effect though. It costs 1 less for each Silver Hand recruit you control. So not only can this come down a little bit earlier, like at turn 5, very rarely on turn 4, I think. I think turn 5 is pretty relevant. You can also play this on turn 7 with your Hero Power, right? You can Hero Power and play this, and then, you know, that's kind of good. You can also play this on turn 6 and just ignore the reduction. And you're kind of playing a Sunwalker, right? Like a Sunwalker is really good. 6 mana 4/5 taunt Divine Shield. Sure, it doesn't have taunt, but Divine Shield on a very aggressively attack minion is pretty nice, right? Like a 6 mana 5/5 Divine Shield can trade with a 5/5 and still be a 5/5. I think Crystal Lion is a really strong card. The reduction is not going to happen too often, but you'll always play a 6 mana 5/5 Divine Shield. So 4-star card. Next we have Call to Arms, 4 mana spell that says recruit 3 minions that cost 2 or less. Bonkers. Bonkers, okay? I'm a math specialist, and when I see 3 times 2, I see 6, and when I see 4 mana makes 6 mana worth of stuff, I see value. Alright? And in Arena, it's actually really good because you're always going to draft 2 drops whenever they come up. Sure, there are some 2 drops that might be a little bit worse, such as, you know, Graham Street Outfitter, that's just a 2 mana 1/1, but you're still getting more value out of the cards. And there is also a hidden mechanic on this card. The hidden mechanic is, if you recruit 3 minions, 3 2 drops, you also don't draw them later, which means that you make your deck better. So it's even better than the effect states, right? There's a lot of things going on with this card that makes it really, really good. So I think this is an easy YOLO Slam Jam 5 stars. The second copy is much worse, but the first copy I think is just insane, right? And of course, when you draft this, you want to go to like maybe 8 2-drops. I think that will make Call to Arms much better as well. Next we have Level Up. It's a 5-mana spell. Give your silver hand recruits +2/+2 and taunt. Kind of like a Quartermaster, right? Quartermaster without the body, but you get taunt instead. I think this is actually pretty bad. The fact that you actually need this to be put on at least 2 minions or 2 silver hand recruits makes this a hard ask, I guess. There are a lot of ways to kind of cheat this out, I guess, with especially the new Dry Gulch 2-mana 1/1 that adds silver hand recruits to your hand. But I don't think this is gonna get there, and I don't think the taunt is relevant enough. Like if it gets a Divine Shield or Life Steal or something out, that might be a bit better. But I just don't see this happening. I think this is a deck card when you're behind, and when you're ahead, you probably don't have a lot of silver hand recruits. You probably have a lot of good minions instead. I'm gonna give this 1 star. All right. So overall, Paladin's got really good cards. Like Paladins are gonna be really, really good in Arena. That's what I think. Onwards to Priest. Priest is getting a pretty weird legendary card. It's kind of weird in Arena because well, let's read this first. Dragon Soul, 3-mana 0/3 weapon. Well, after you cast 3 spells in a turn, so at the same turn, you summon a 5/5 dragon. So obviously 3-mana 5/5 sounds awesome. But the fact that this does not come down in turn 3 or turn 4 or turn 5, okay, let me just rephrase this, or ever in Arena makes this really bad. Like, really garbage. You can actually put Dragon Soul in your deck in Arena and you can never activate it because spells are very hard to draft in the first place anyways, right? There are so many expensive Priest spells as well that this is never gonna happen. Like, this is not gonna happen, man. 0. Easy 0. All right, Temporis is the 7-mana 6/6 dragon, legendary. Ooh, legendary dragon. And battle cry, your opponent takes 2 turns. Then you take 2 turns. So 7-mana 6/6, you lose the game. And then you don't get 2 turns because you lost the game. Oh, that's kind of sucky. This is pretty bad because not only do you give all your opponent's minions charges, right? So they can play their minion into charge. They can also like get like an insane turn before you do. And then you have to spend 1 turn to kind of nullify what your opponent did on their turn. And then you need to spend 1 turn to establish more threats. So this is just kicking yourself in the ass. And last I checked, kicking yourself in the ass is a 1-star card. So I would not want to draft this. So both the legendary cards in Priest just suck. Hopefully you don't draft any legendaries. But instead, you draft the commons. Because we have an Unidentified Elixir at 3 mana and common for Priest. Give a minion +2/+2. And then this gains a special effect. The special effect is you either give it Divine Shield as well. You either summon a 1/1 copy of it as well. You can give it Lifesteal, or you can also give it Return it to your hand. Now, Unidentified Elixir is actually just ridiculous, right? 3-mana +2/+2 is nothing amazing, but all these effects actually break the game. Every single card breaks the game. Like giving a minion Divine Shield and +2/+2 means that they can trade upwards, and you get a bigger minion. Right, so that's obviously good. If you summon a 1/1 copy or something and you use it on, on something that has an end of turn effect, that actually is also ridiculous. Like Death Rattle minions also count. You give it something Lifesteal and suddenly you can beat those Smarky decks. If you're playing Priest, you probably have a control deck, right, in Arena. You probably want to get up to your FFA turns and you know, your Obsidian Statue turns or whatever. So Lifesteal is also pretty good. And finally, 3-mana +2/+2 draw a card is also bonkers. So this reminds me a lot of Valen's Chosen. Yeah, all modes are ridiculous. Easy 5-star card. Very, very powerful. Basically, 3 drops for Priest are just going to be king because there's already Kobold Talon Priest. Psionic Probe is a 1-mana spell. Copy a spell in your opponent's deck and add it to your hand. Well, this is actually pretty bad because it's like a mind vision, right? Okay, sure, you can dodge a few bad effects. So sometimes when you cast mind vision, you copy your opponent's coin, and that's kind of feels bad, man, because you just literally lost the card, right? So copying an opponent's spell in your deck is pretty good in that sense. it's kind of like a 1 mana Thought Steal 1 as well. And sometimes you can actually break it, right? If you copy an AoE spell, or if you copy an Ultimate Infestation or whatever, then that's pretty good. But at the end of the day, you know, it's still a 1 mana investment for, you know, for a random card. Usually I like these cards if they're Discover, right? So if there's something like the Rogue one that discovers a spell, you know, if it's a 1/1 body attached to this, then it's a little bit better. But as it stands, it's not really that good. So I'm just gonna give this 2 stars. I think this is fine if your other comments are crappy, but you're not really over the moon with this. Gilded Gargoyle is a 3 mana 2/2 with Death Rattle. Add a coin to your hand. Man, how Tomb Pillager got nerfed so hard, right? 3 mana 2/2. It's pretty damn weak. It gives you a coin, so you get to ramp up 1 of your turns, and you can sometimes coins are good in Priest, right? Like you can coin up FFA, and you know, coins smooth out your curve, and Priests really want to smooth out the curve. But I really don't want to play a 3 mana 2/2, man. Like, oh my god, this is just miserable. I think this is a pure constructor card, and 3 drops in Arena are so important, right? Like this dies to a 3/3. And then getting a coin in your hand is not as good as your opponent's 3/1 that just traded with this 2/2. I don't like this card. I think this is a 1 star. Like, this is not what you want. Alright, next we have a Duskbreaker. It's a 4 mana 3/3 dragon. Oh, dragon. Pretty cool, right? Battlecry. If you're holding a dragon, deal 3 damage to all other minions. This is ridiculous, right? If you have a dragon, because it's effectively Hellfire, and then you get a 3/3. And it doesn't hit face, which is even better for Priest, because Priest, you don't want to actually deal damage to your own hero and by any means. So this is very, very powerful. But the fact that it asks you to have another dragon is pretty hard. There are a lot of new dragons in this set, so it does get a little better that way, because there were no dragons. There were not a lot of dragons in the previous 2 sets, right? So to activate this should be not that difficult, but a 4 mana 3/3 is pretty bad. I can imagine a lot of cases where you just have to play this card without the trigger, because you don't have a 4-drop and you just have to play this, and that's kind of sad. So I think this is a very, very good constructor card, and we're going to see it in our constructor compendium. But for Arena, I'm just going to give this 4 stars. I think the risk versus reward is there, and it's good for you. Like it's like a medium risk, high reward kind of card. Like playing a 4 mana 3/3 kind of sucks, but sometimes, you know, whatever, you know, The Spellstone for Priests is a Super Resurrect. A 7 mana resurrect 2 minions, and then whenever you cast 4 spells while this is in your hand, you get to resurrect 3, and then you get to resurrect 4. Let's be honest, like, you're never gonna upgrade this in Arena. This is never gonna happen. So 7 mana resurrect 2 minions is actually weirdly okay. It's a very, very expensive, and the fact that you can resurrect some 2-drops and 3-drops because it's Arena makes it a little more difficult to abuse compared to Constructed. Of course, you want to play this after you play FFAs, after you play your Taunters, you know, and stuff like that. But the fact that this gets kind of shafted by cards that make tokens like Fireflies and Serenade Chain Gangs makes me kind of not like this card too much. You would rather play a 7 mana Sated Threshodon over this sometimes, right? 7 mana 5/7 that summons 3/1/1s. You know what you're getting. This one, you don't really know what you're getting. Like 7 mana summon 2/2-drops. It's pretty shitty. So I would give this 2 stars. I think there's a very high risk on this card. Next we have Twilight's Call. It's a 3 mana spell that summons 2/1/1s, but there are copies of Death Rattle minions that died this game, and they have to be friendly, so you can't actually copy your opponent's Death Rattle minions. This is also very situational in the fact that if you draft this early on, then you might not even get any Death Rattle minions, right? And if you find this later, do you really want a 3 mana summon 2/1/1s? It's 3 mana 2/2s. It's 3 mana for effectively 2/2 stats. And then you get your Death Rattle effects on top of that. And I think that's not really that good. Like, this is pretty shitty. I'm gonna just give this 1 star. And if you have 0 Death Rattles, then it turns into 0 very easily. I think you should just leave this for the constructed peoples. Psychic Scream is the 7 mana board wipe for priests. Shuffle all minions into your opponent's deck. Now this is redonkulous in Arena, because not only is it a better Twisting Nether, you also get to shuffle some shitty ass cards into your opponent's deck, man. There are a lot of cards that make tokens in this game. And if you cast this, if your opponent plays Spreading Plague, then they're gonna be drawing 2 mana 1/5s for the rest of the game. Like, oh my god, that is just really abysmal. This also doesn't trigger any death rattles, which is really, really good. And then this gets rid of all of their opponent's buffs, like Blessing of Kings, and also makes their cards really bad. So yeah, this is auto pick. Very, very strong card. Especially exactly what Priest wants in an Arena deck. So easy 5 stars. Twilight Acolyte, 3 mana 2/4. Battlecry, if you're holding a dragon, swap this minion's attack with another minion's. So very powerful if you're holding a dragon. Once again, it does ask that you have a dragon. There's a lot of times when you're playing this as a 3 mana 2/4, and that is actually perfectly serviceable. And if you actually get to activate this on like a bog creeper or something, then you're kind of breaking the game. So it's really powerful, and I think 3 mana 2/4 is nothing. It's nothing embarrassing, right? Like, it's fine. So I'm gonna give this 3 stars. This is much better in constructed, of course. And there you go, there's Priest. Very strong cards in the way of commons, and the elixir is really powerful. But then there's a lot of shitty rares. Twilight's Call and Spellstone are really, really bad, so hopefully you don't get those. And then the legendaries are really crappy too. I just think that the fact that unidentified elixir exists makes Priest pretty good in Arena. Onwards to Rogue. What do we have here? We have Kingsbane as the legendary weapon. It's a 1 mana 1/3 weapon with a Death Rattle clause. Shuffle this into your deck when it dies, and then it actually keeps any enchantments. So basically, if you Deadly Poison Kingsbane, it turns into 1 mana 3/3 that when it dies, you draw a 1 mana 3/3 weapon. You can also use like the Poisonous enchantment on this. And Venom Weapon, that makes it pretty good. Naga Corsair also works. So yeah, this is basically how it works. I think this card is actually really good because it's a 1 mana 1/3 weapon. It's already pretty playable. It's like the Light's Justice, right? Light's Justice is very playable in Arena. And the fact that if you have a few poisons that you can apply to this, makes this really good when you draw a late game. Like a 1 mana 3/3 weapon, if you buff it with like Deadly Poison and you draw a late game, is really good because it squeezes into your curve quite well. And then you're just gonna keep on drawing a very, very good weapon. Sure, it gets a little bit worse because it makes your hero power a little bit non-existent when you have Kingsbane. But man, how do you beat somebody with a Kingsbane that has Envenom Weapon on it? So they basically get like permanent assassinates, and then they can draw and assassinate. Like 3 assassinates in 1 weapon. I think Kingsbane is just good. Obviously, it just depends on your other drafts. So yeah, if you have the other cards, then this gets ridiculous. But as a card itself, I'm just gonna give this 3 stars. Next, we have the legendary Sonya Shadow Dancer with those thighs. Look at that. 3 mana 2/2. After a friendly minion dies, add a 1/1 copy of it into your hand. It costs 1, so you get a 1 mana 1/1 of whatever dies on your field. This is just like utterly ridiculous, right? Like, this is just insane. This combos with any taunt, and this also combos with any charge. It comes with charge a little bit better because imagine if you have a charged minion, any charged minion, right? You can actually replay your charged minion every single time it dies, right? So you can just play your haha, charge into something, replay the haha, charge into something, and then just keep on doing it until you run out of mana or they run out of minions to charge. So yeah, Sonya is kind of breaking the game. I just don't see how this is not broken. Your opponent has to kill this. It is pretty flimsy. She dies to literally everything at 2 health, right? And she doesn't really trade with anything. But the fact that you can abuse this so well in Arena, I think this is just an easy auto pick. So yeah, 5-star card. Kobold Illusionist, 4 mana 3/3 Death Rattle. Summon a 1/1 copy of a minion from your hand. So if you just look at the stats, it's a 4 mana 4/4. 4 mana 4/4s are usually not that good in Arena, but the fact that you can do some dirty stuff with this makes this pretty good. So if you summon a copy that has a Death Rattle effect, such as like Undercity Huckster, or gee, if you have another Kobold Illusionist, because this is a common, right, and this is from the new set, you're gonna probably get this card a lot. If you have 2 of these, You effectively made your own Death Steed. Right? Is it called Death Steed? I don't even remember what it's called. But like, it's a 1/1 that never dies. So that's kind of cute, right? I think this card is nice if you have more payoffs. So if you have more Death Rattle cards, if you have more Divine Shield, Poisonous cards, you know, the neutrals that we're gonna see later on, this will get better. So I'm not gonna shrug this card off. And the worst case is a 4-mana 4/4, and we play 4-mana 4/4s all the time. Like I play Ogre Magi's all the freaking time. So yeah, I think this card is fine. I'll give it 3 stars. Cheat Death is a 2-mana secret. So secrets are gonna be a thing in the new expansion for rogues now. They're gonna get 3 secrets. So it's a little bit, you have to pay a little bit more attention when you play the new expansion. This one, when a friendly minion dies, it returns to your hand, and then it costs 2 less. Now this is the best secret out of them all. Very, very good, because you don't pay any mana for this, right? It costs 2 less. So you're investing some mana for more mana later. Okay, so you play Cheat Death when you have a board full of Battle Cries and Death Rattles or whatever, right? And then next turn, if they kill it, you get to have 2 extra mana to play your stuff because it costs 2 less, right? So this is a good secret, and one that I will expect all my opponents to be playing when they play a rogue secret. So 3-star card. I think this is fine. Sudden Betrayal is the other rogue secret at common. When a minion attacks a hero, instead it attacks one of its neighbors. So this is kind of like a betrayal that your opponent activates. I hate these cards because, once again, explosive trap syndrome, right? Good players will play around this. They're gonna play their Firefly. They're gonna attack with their minion at the end. So then that minion attacks the Firefly, and you're gonna go like, why the hell did I put this in my deck? They can also not attack your face and just wait until they draw a small minion. This is just terrible. I hate these sort of cards. I'm just gonna give this 1 star. Another common we have is another 2-mana card. Rogues are getting a lot of 2-mana cards. Cavern Shiny Finder. 2-mana 3/1, so pretty aggressively statted. Battle card draws a weapon from your deck. So usually this is gonna draw Shadow Blade. That's the most likely target that you want. 2-mana 3/1 draw card is really good, but it gets a little bit worse because, once again, you know, you already have a rogue hero power. So it gets better the more weapons you have. Say 2 weapons is actually pretty good already, and 2-mana 3/1 means that they kind of have to ping this if they're a ping class, which means that you kind of went out ahead on that trade, right? So I think the Cavern Shiny Finder is fine. I'm just gonna give this 3 stars. I think it's okay. Elven Minstrel is a 4-mana 3/2. It's combo effect. Draw 2 minions from your deck. This is ridiculous because it's Ancient of Lore on steroids, right? Ancient of Lore got nerfed for being too good, and it was a 7-mana 5/5 draw 2 cards. This is cheaper, and this comes down sooner, and this draws specific cards, which is even better than just draw 2 random cards, right? Yeah, this is ridiculous. You're also playing this in Rogue, where you have so many 0-mana spells, and you can also play this late game and you're super happy. This is ridiculous, man. Rogues are not supposed to draw cards well, right? That's one of their weaknesses, and this literally just smiles at you and slaps you in the face because it is over budgeted as hell. It's Flame Imp without deal 3 damage to your face and Arcane Intellect baked into 1 card. Yeah, easy 5 stars. This is just ridiculous. Next we have the Rogue Spellstone. 5 mana to destroy 1 random enemy minion, and then when you play 3 Death Rattle cards, you get to destroy 2 random enemy minions, and then you get to destroy 3 in the last mode. Playing Death Rattle cards in Arena is probably not going to happen, so I think this is going to be the first mode most of the time. And 5 mana Deadly Shot is really expensive, right? Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, removal in Arena is premium, right? Like, removal in Arena is really, really strong. So even though it's 5 mana Deadly Shot, you might still play this, and you might still be pretty happy because as a rogue, tempo is king. When you have a lot of minions on the battlefield and your opponent plays 1 single minion, you sometimes just want to play 5. Like Sabotage was a card that was really good in Arena, and it was a 4 mana card, right? So you be very unhappy to play this but this is still a fine card. It's still a 2-star card. Like, you're gonna cry and pick this, and it's still gonna do work. Feldorei Strider, 4 mana 4/4 Spooky Spooter. Battlecry, shuffle 3 ambushes into your deck. When drawn, summon a 4/4 spider. So instead of Beneath the Grounds, you shuffle your opponent's deck, you shuffle it into your own deck. I think the main difference with this and Beneath the Grounds is that you get a freaking 4 mana 4/4. This is ridiculous. Like, 4 mana 4/4s, once again, are fine. Like, they're very, very serviceable. And the fact that you can get some free 4/4s anytime during the game, including the turn you play this. So when you play this, and then next turn you might just get like all the 4/4s immediately. So then this is a 4 mana 16/16. Yeah, this card is good. I think this card is just fine. 5 stars. Easy 5 stars, I think. Like, you would just draft this and like roll some dice, you know? The final row secret is an epic. 2 mana evasion. After your hero takes damage, you become immune this turn. Trash. This is just garbage. You never want to... Like, why would you ever want to play this? If you have no minions, you're not going to burn your opponents with the spells of Eviscerate. You're not going to burn them off with, like, you know, what? Leroy, Combo, Shadow Step. This is not what Arena is, and this is just garbage. 0. So overall, Rose got 3 5-star cards. Rose is still going to be the king of arenas. So, yep, this is going to be great. All right, onwards to Shamans, possibly my favorite arena class to play because they have so many cool interactions. They are getting a 8 mana legendary weapon that's a 3/3. After your hero attacks, discover a spell and cast it on random targets. Oh my god, that is like the trolliest card ever. This would be really good in other classes, right? Like, Shamans have a problem where a lot of their spells have overload, and also a lot of their spells have targeted effects, like lightning bolts and lava bursts, right? The fact that it discovers the effect makes it really, really powerful though. So you can just choose the best one out of the bunch, and you're usually gonna just pick Lightning Storm or Finders Keepers, you know, stuff that always benefits you, right? You can also find, like, you know, Volcanoes or Evolves or Devolves to interact with your opponent's board. So I think this is overall a pretty good arena card in the fact that Discovering is so strong and you get 3 spells in one. Like, even if you get overloaded in arena, it's not a big deal. So I think Runespear is actually fine, and it's actually really good. I'm gonna give this 4 stars in arena. I would like this card. Grumble Worldshaker says a 6 mana 7/7 elemental. Battlecry, return your other minions to your hand and they cost 1. So they don't get a stat deficit, right? When you play this, there's still like 1 mana 5/5 Bone Mares, or 1 mana, you know, 3/3 Mind Control text or whatever, and you get a 6 mana 7/7. Like, he is a pretty big dude, you know? The only problem with this card is you don't want to play this on turn 6, right? If you play this on turn 6, you can't replay the 1-cost minions immediately, and you pretty much sap your entire board. So you might actually lose board control when you play Grumble on turn 6. So hopefully you don't do that, so that's why it's a 6 mana 7/7. You can play this on an empty board and be pretty happy about it, right? Like, it's just a Bodifist Ogre at that point. If you can kind of make this work out, then I think Grumble is going to be a fine card in arena. I think you would basically pick this and be very, very happy with the effect. I don't think it's at 5-star level. I think it's going to be 4 stars. That Lich King and stuff like that is still probably going to be better. But resetting stuff like Bone Mares are, you know, pretty decent. You know? It's pretty good. And now we're moving to the commons. 2 mana 1/1 Kobold Hermit. Battlecry, choose a basic totem and summon it. This is really good, right? The fact that you can choose any totem you want, and the fact that this makes 2 bodies, makes this a very premium 2-drop. It's a 2-drop that you can make spell damage with, and 2 mana spell damage minions are very, very powerful. This is even better than Tuskar Fisherman sometimes, because you don't require a second minion. Since Maelstrom Portal is in the arena and it's auto pick, and you know, you pick your Lightning Storms or whatever, this is really, really powerful. You can also get taunts if you're kind of dying, and then 2 mana summon 2 1/1s is not exactly a bad deal anyways. Extra synergy with Evolve and Flame Tongue Totem effects. So I think Kobold Hermit is just a really good card. I'll give it 4 stars. Crushing Hand, 2 mana Shaman spell. It deals 8 damage. Oh my God, this is ridiculous. It overloads you for 3 though. This is really good. 2 mana Assassinate is exactly what you want, right? Okay, sure, it overloads you for 3, but that's not a big deal. 2 mana Assassinate, it kills everything. 8 damage is everything, right? Okay, fine, you can't kill your Ancient of War, but who the hell cares, dude? 8 damage is ridiculous. Like, premium removal, 4-star card, very, very powerful. You would always pretty much pick this. Healing Rain. It's a 3 mana arcane missiles on your own face and on your own board, but it restores 12 health instead. I look forward to seeing someone draft Light Warden and Healing Rain and then just working you for 25 damage because, you know, it's split, so it restores 12 health, you know, 1 by 1, so it can get pretty good. Other than that, it's kind of like a Healing Touch and a Circle of Healing combined together, and it still maintains its mana cost. So I think this is like reasonable. It's not really that good. It's a 3 mana 0/0, right? So obviously you don't want to play this, but it does restore health to your face. And restoring health to your own face is good in decks that really want to get to the late game, right? So if you have a Shaman deck that has really expensive stuff, then Healing Rate is not that bad. But in most decks, and if you're thinking about like whether this card is good or not, then it's probably bad, right? So I'm just gonna give this 1 star. I don't think you can shrug this off as like unplayable. Yeah. This belongs in the controlliest of control decks. The Spellstone for Shamans is 7 mana, very expensive. You summon a copy of a friendly minion, so you basically play Faceless Manipulator. When you overload 3 mana crystals, you get to upgrade this to the second version, which is summon 2 copies, so you play 2 Facelesses, and then the final version you summon 3 Facelesses. Overloading an arena is actually not that hard, right? There are so many Shaman cards that overload you, so it's not a stretch to go like this is probably gonna go to the second mode or even the third mode. But 7 mana is a big ask, right? I'm gonna be comparing this to Everything Can Happen, or Anything is off, or Everything is Awesome. In the Murloc card that +2/+2 is your board, right? This is very similar to that, whereby if you cast this card, you're probably winning the game, and this does nothing when you're behind, and is really, really bad. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of this card. I'm just gonna give this 1, even though it's really easy to upgrade this card. Primal Talismans. 3 mana, give your minions Desperado, summon a random basic totem. Very similar to Spirit Echo, but a lot worse because you're not getting your minion back. You're getting a shitty little totem. I think this is really bad. You have to combo this with something like Flame, like the Flame Tongue totems, Bloodlust, or the new epic card that we're gonna see. But other than that, this is just really shitty. This is 1-star card. Murmuring Elemental is a 2 mana 1/1 elemental with Battlecry. Your next Battlecry this turn triggers twice. So it's a 2-drop that's not a 2-drop. You never want to play this on 2 because it's pretty garbage if you play on 2. You don't actually have it. Battlecry is just a 2 mana 1/1. So you need to abuse this with something else. And in Arena, it's pretty damn hard to abuse this. Doubling on a Battlecry in Arena is pretty bad. Like, all the battle cards are pretty fair, right? There's no battle cards that just break the game. So I think this is very shit. I'm just gonna give this 1 star, and I think you just want to avoid this. Elemental tag doesn't really matter that much. There's so many elementals in Shamans that it doesn't really matter anyways. So yeah, this is pretty bad. Windshear Stormcaller is a 5 mana 5/5 epic, so pretty good statted already, and has a very good battle cry. If you control all 4 basic totems, summon Alakir the Windlord. So you get a 5 mana 5/5 that might get an 8-drop immediately. Like, this card is bonkers in Arena because playing a 5 mana 5/5 is okay. Like, 5 mana 5/5s are just good, and sometimes you just win the game. If you can combo this with the other cards that make totems, then this is really, really good. I think this is just like you can just win the game out of nowhere, right? It's kind of like an alternate Bloodlust that might even be better because you can always just play it as a 5 mana 5/5. Yeah, this card is good. 4 stars. This is fine. And then finally, last card we see is Unstable Evolution. For 1 mana, you get to transform a friendly minion into one that would cost 1 more. So it's an evolve for 1 minion. And then when you cast this, you get to cast this again as many times as you want until you end your turn. This card is ridiculous. This card is actually better than Forbidden Shaping, and Forbidden Shaping is already a really good arena card, right? A turn 10, you can summon a totem, and you can unstable evolution it until you're satisfied with the effect, and then you can cast it on your other cards, which is insane. There's also a hidden interaction of this card, is that if you get Radiant Elemental, then you can PogChamp, right? Because totems are 1-cost cards, and then if you unstable evolution into Radiant Elemental ever, you can basically upgrade your whole board into infinitely. So yeah, that's really good. There's also Sorcerer's Apprentice, which also works on this. So there's two mana cards. There's two mana minions that makes this infinite, and this works on your bone mares as well, right? This works on just so good. This is just insane. 5 stars. Like, YOLO Slam Jam this card. It's so good. Alright, so Shaman's got a lot of good cards. There's a lot of 1-star cards, but there's a lot of 4-star cards as well. Onwards to Warlock. Warlock has a weapon this time, once again. Legendary weapon, Skull of the Monarch. 5 mana, 0/3. At the start of your turn, summon a demon from your hand. Now, weapons are very hard to interact with in the arena, and if you're playing Warlock, your opponent is probably just going to play the Oozes immediately because, what, they're going to play around your legendary weapon? Yeah, that's not a good plan. This is fine, especially if you draft a lot of demons. It also suffers from the draft problem where if you draft this really early on and you don't see any demons later, then this is just very, very terrible. So yeah, this is kind of like very awkward in that case. So at the end of the day, even though it's really hard to interact with this weapon card, you can just play your demons by themselves, right? Like, just play your demons in arena. Just play your Doomguard at 5. Just play your Dread Infernos and Abyssal Enforcers and the new Void Lords and whatever. You don't need this card to do it for you. So I think this is 0. This is an easy 0-star legendary card. Alright, next we have Rin the First Disciple. 6 mana, 3/6 taunt. She has a Death Rattle. Add the first seal to your hand. So it's a 6 mana 3/6 taunt, which is like a Fang Creeper, and then you get to draw a card. The card is first seal, which is a 5 mana summon a 2/2. And then when you cast this, you get a 5 mana 3/3. And then when you cast it, you get a 5 mana 4/4. And then when you cast this, you get a 5 mana 5/5. And then when you cast that, you get a 5 mana 6/6. And then when you cast that, you get a 10 mana 10/10 with Battlecry. Destroy your opponent's deck. So this is kind of like a 36 mana card, right? 10, 20, 25, 35. So this is kind of like a 41 mana card, and those are usually pretty powerful. It's a shame that this is in Warlock though, because Warlock has life tap, right? Like, Warlocks don't really need a lot of mana sinks. I think if this was in any other class, this would be really insane. But you know, it's not. There is a good thing that at least the minions you summon are demons, so they interact with your Demon Firers and your Crystal Weavers and whatnot. And Rin has taunt, so they kind of have to get rid of this, so that's pretty good. I think this is a fine card in the fact that you know, it gives you a lot of value over time. And if you don't want to life tap in those situations, then you can just keep on playing this, and it just gets value. Like, I'm not gonna be expecting to get a 10 mana 10/10 every time I draft Rin. I don't think that's gonna be realistic, but the fact that it gives you some repeatable hero power at 5 mana, like, it's reasonable. I think this card is reasonable, so I'll give this 3 stars. Alright, back to the commons. Kobold Barbarian is a 1 mana 2/1, so that's pretty good already. As a battle cry, draw a card. Oh my goodness, that is insane. Deals 2 damage to your hero. I think this card is ridiculous. Like, 1 mana 2/1, draw a card is breaking the game in a sense. Dealing 2 damage to hero is not a problem. It might be a problem if you go late game and you're facing down a hunter or a mage. Like, that might not be that good, but it's so much board pressure, right? And it's so much value that it's just gonna be an easy 4-star card. Like, you're gonna be picking this and you're gonna be happy with this. This is gonna make Warlocks very, very strong in arena. Speaking of, they're also getting a Vulgar Homunculus. It's a 2 mana 2/4 demon with taunt. 2 mana 2/4 demon with taunt. That is great. It has a battle card once again that deals 2 damage to your own hero. Also very strong. Like, you're cheating the curve. In Arena, cheating the curve is very, very good. And yeah, you always pick this card. This is insane. Like, there are no 2-drops that kind of contest this, right? And it can even kill 2 mana 3/2s and still stay alive. So very easy 4-star card again. Very, very busted. And the fact that it has a demon tag is an extra bonus. Dark Pact is a 1 mana spell that destroys a friendly minion and restores 8 health to your own hero. You don't want to destroy your own minion in freaking Arena. Sure, it can activate some death rattles like the egg, the 3 mana egg, and the 4 mana 1/1 Twilight Summoner and stuff like that. But you can also just buff it up with like, you can buff it with a Dark Iron Dwarf, and that's even better. Like 1 mana 0/0 restore 8 health and destroy your own minion. This is terrible. This is actually just garbage. 0 stars. Never want to draft this card. Lesser Amethyst Spellstone is the Warlock Spellstone, and it is 4 mana, deal 3 damage to a minion as lifesteal. So it's kind of like a Drain Soul. And to upgrade this, you need to take damage from your cards to upgrade it. And when you upgrade this, it deals 5 damage to a minion with lifesteal. And then the final version is deals 7 damage to a minion and lifesteal. This is probably the best Spellstone in Arena. It's very well positioned because there are 2 new cards that we just saw that deals damage to your own heroes. And that's not to count the cards that already do this, right? Hellfire, Fellfire Potion, Dread Inferno, Abyssal Enforcer, Flame Imp. There are so many cards that deal damage to yourself. This doesn't work on life tap, so that's interesting. And the effect is also insane in Warlock. You're restoring health to your own hero, which is a very, very desirable effect. This can literally just read, deal 3 damage to a minion, draw a card, right? So you can turn into a Hammer of Wrath at worst. And that's really good. So I think this Spellstone is ridiculous. You just YOLO slam this because there are so many cards that work with this. I really like this card. This is a 4-star spell. Very strong removal. Next we have Possessed Lackey. It's a 5 mana 2/2 Death Rattle, recruit a demon. I think this is really bad. Once again, you can just play your demons in Arena. You don't need to force them out or anything. And you're never gonna want to play a 5 mana 2/2. So I think Possessed Lackey is very, very terrible. I'm gonna give it 1 star. It still has a body and it still has a low effect, but I wouldn't want this. I would just want to play my demons instead. Hooked Reaver. 4 mana 4/4 demon with Battlecry. If you have 15 or less health, it gains +3/+3 and taunt. This is easily 5 stars. This is ridiculous. 4 mana 7/7 taunt. And what does it ask of you? It asks you to have 15 or less health in Warlock, right? This is just bonkers. And 4 mana 4/4 once again is like completely fine. You can also play this on turn 4 and you're not unhappy, but you probably don't want to because you're missing out on a 4 mana 7/7. This is really, really good in Arena. Like, damage is gonna happen all the time. And the fact that this stabilizes you and you can play other stuff, so you can play like Hooked Reaver and, for example, Blast Crystal Potion together at turn 8 means that you can win games you're not supposed to win. And those cards I really like. Easy 5 stars. Very, very strong. Next, we have Void Lord. It's a very big demon. It's a 9 mana 3/9 that has taunt, so your opponent has to kill it. And it also has Death Rattle. Summon 3 Void Walkers. Oh my god, your opponent is going to cry when they face against this card because they can never go face anymore. And if you can buff this Void Lord, especially its attack, then it gets even better, right? The attack is very low, so it doesn't really trade really well. But if you can put like, you know, a Demon Fire on it, or if you can put a Scale Bane with this, then this gets really, really ridiculous. I think this is a very strong card and exactly what Warlocks want to do, because they just want to stabilize the board at the late game and then just overvalue your opponent, right? So I think this is great. I think it's a 4-star card, but you don't want a lot of copies of this because it's a 9 mana minion, right? 9 mana is very awkward because you can't play anything else. So there's a little bit of a warning in this, but very, very strong demon as well. And you can also get this from Bane of Doom now and Cabal Trafficker, which is ridiculous. And now we have the final Warlock card. It's Cataclysm. For 4 mana, you destroy all minions. So you get a Twisting Nether at 4 mana. but then you discard your hand. So it's really weird because it's two effects that don't really work together, right? It's a control card with an aggro effect, right? Aggro effect is like you want to discard a card, you just want to dump your hand and then life tap, right? But then as a control effect. So together they kind of suck, but separately they are, you know, if they have another effect with the separate effects, that might be better. So it's kind of a weird one for sure. And at the end of the day, board wipes are still really, really powerful in Arena. So you would still pick this and you'd be still pretty happy because you're gonna win games you're not supposed to. And the good part is you can still play Cataclysm and you can still life tap and hopefully play something. So I would still give this a 3 stars. And of course, if you have more death rattles, then it'll work better out for you. But yeah, board wipes are just good. Dude. Warlocks got insane Arena cards. I think Warlocks might even be the contenders for one of the best Arena classes. And that's good because I'm really good at Warlock. So looking forward to drafting some Warlock for sure. Onwards to Warrior. We have the Onwards to Warrior. We have Woe Cleaver, 8 mana as a legendary weapon. It's a 3/3. And after your hero attacks, recruit a minion. This is really powerful in Arena because it's 8 mana, make 3 dudes. And make 3 good dudes, right? It recruits a minion from a deck. And you actually get a Fiery War Axe type of weapon. I think Woe Cleaver is great. I will give this like 4 stars. The fact that it actually fishes out any minion makes it so that you can actually high roll a really, really great. It is a pretty low attack weapon, but you can always just hit face with it and get a minion. So I think it's great. Geosculptor Yip is an 8 mana 4/8. At the end of your turn, summon a random minion with cost equal to your armor. So effectively, it casts Forbidden Shaping equal to your armor at the end of every turn. So it's really hard to gain armor in Arena because usually you don't want to. You don't want to hero power at all. So at the worst case situation, you play this on turn 10. You play Geosculptor, you hero power, and you get a 2-drop. And then every turn you get a 2-drop, right? You turn your hero power into summon a random 2-drop, which is like, you know, that's pretty decent. Sometimes if you get one of the new warrior cards that give you a lot of armor and you play this, it can get pretty ridiculous. Because when you're at a certain armor level, your opponent can't get rid of all your armor. And then you're just going to run away with the game with Yip because he has 8 health. Like really, really formidable, right? So I think Geosculptor Yip is fine. I'm just going to give this 3 stars. And then I wouldn't go out of my way to draft the armor cards when I have Yip. But at the end of the turn, effects are really, really powerful, especially in Arena because it's recursive. Unidentified Shield is the 6 mana warrior spell that depends on RNG. And what can it get? It can get Rune Shield, which is you get a 5/5 as well. You can get deal 5 damage, which changes to Holy Fire. You can get a 5/2 weapon, which changes into an Arcane Reaper, gain 5 armor. And then you can also change it to like a freaking Tower Shield, which is gain 15 armor. Obviously, gaining 15 armor in Arena is very shitty because you're playing a 6 mana 0/0 pure life gain card. This is the one you don't want. But the other ones, the other modes are really good, right? Like Holy Fire, Shield Maiden, and Arcane Reaper. Those cards are all really, really good. So there's a 25% chance to kind of like kick your own ass. But I think it's still worth it. I think this is still a very, very good card. So I'm going to give this 4 stars. I think you will always pick this. You're playing a warrior anyways. So even though you get 15 armor, you can still use the armor correctly because you're playing weapons. So it's not like really bad. Like it's bad, but it's still really good. So I think this is a very good pick for a warrior. Gem Studded Golem is a 6 mana 5/9 taunt. So it's a very weird number, but it's kind of like an Ancient of War if you look at it. It can only attack if you have 5 or more armor. This is a really, really powerful card because it's one of those Tar Creeper type of effects where you just play this and your opponent kind of has to deal with it. And there are actually multiple times where you're gonna have 5 armor. You can start smacking with this. Not that you really have a priority to because a 5/9 taunt is already really strong. So I'm gonna give Gem Studded Golem a 4 stars. You're just gonna draft this every time you see it, and then you're gonna play really strong cards behind it, like Scale Bane. So yeah, it's a good card. Next we have Kobold Barbarian. It's a 3 mana 4/4, so overstated. At the start of your turn, attack a random enemy. So it's interesting to note that it does not have Wind Fury, so you can't have this effect and attack again. So it basically attacks by itself, and it can also ignore taunts because random enemy means that it just does whatever it wants. I don't think this is actually a good card. This is a very sneaky card, in that it's really bad late game. In late game, your opponent's gonna be playing like, you know, 5/5s and 6/6s and 6/7s or whatever, and then this might just kill itself. So realistically, you really want to play this at 3. And the fact that sometimes you can't trade when you want to, like if your opponent has like a Cold Wraith, a 3/4, and then this goes face, you're gonna be pretty unhappy. I'm not a big fan of this. It's still a lot of stats though, so I'm still gonna give this 2 stars, but this effect is actually pretty bad. Next we have Gather Your Party for Warriors. It's a 6 mana recruit a minion. This is terrible because you're gonna have to draft a lot of 2-drops and 3-drops in the arena. You have to get to the late game in somehow, right? And since Fire Warlocks got nerfed, you can no longer rely on that weapon to carry you to your big drops. So what that means is that if you play a 6 mana 2-drop, you're gonna cry. No, this is shit, dude. It's like really bad. It's 1-star card. It still does something, but most of the time you're gonna be super unhappy. And of course, you're always gonna lose to this card when they pull out Izera or Lich King. You're gonna be very salty. You're gonna try drafting this card, and you're gonna be very salty again. So what this card is 6 mana double salt. The final spellstone of the series is the warrior one. It's 7 mana, make a 5/5. But every time you equip a weapon, you get another 5/5. So for the final version, you get 3 5/5s. This is actually not bad in Arena. It's not a hard ask to equip weapons. It also works on your N'Zoth's First Mate and your Amani Weaponsmith. So, oh, sorry, Arathi Weaponsmith. Yeah. So it's pretty strong when you can play 7 mana, 15/15 worth of stats. So I think this is also one of the good spellstones. It's not as good as the Warlock spellstone, but I'm still gonna give it 4 stars. It's very easy to activate this. And making 2 5/5s for 7 mana is pretty decent already. So, good one. Dry Whisker Armor is a 2 mana 2/2. For each enemy minion, gain 2 armor. So a 2 mana 2/2 of extra upside is fine, but the extra upside doesn't actually do anything. It's gain armor. So like, it's not really that good. So I'm not gonna rate this too highly. It does stabilize the board for you to get to the late game, but yeah, I'm just gonna give this 2 stars. I think the effect is not quite there. Nah, actually, you know what? I changed my mind. It's still a 2-drop, so I'm gonna give it 3 stars. Like 2 mana 2/2 with extra upside, whatever. I'll give it 3. Reckless Flurry is a 3 mana spell that spends all your armor and deals damage to all minions. So it's kind of like a AoE spell for warrior. Warriors are not really known for their AoE potential, so this is gonna be a pretty strong card. The worst case situation is 5 mana, deal 2 damage to everything, which is kind of like a shitty version of a Holy Nova. But the fact that this can scale higher makes this really strong. So I think Reckless Flurry is just 4 stars. Like, anytime you see an AoE card in Arena, it's at least a 4 stars. It doesn't really matter what the text is. It's just good. Finally, we have Bladed Gauntlet. 2 mana 0/2 weapon. Wow, 0 attack weapon in a weapon class. Kind of weird. It has attack equal to your armor, but it cannot smoke your opponent's face, because obviously if it can, you can just gain 30 armor and Loktar Ogar, right? How I look at this card is it's basically 2 shield slams, right? It's a little bit worse than shield slam because you have to attack your hero, so you lose a little bit of armor. But at the end of the day, it's still a 2 mana 2/2 weapon at worst. Sure, you have the hero power to make this work, but if you have a lot of armor gain cards, this is a removal spell. So I think Bladed Gauntlet is really strong. I think I'm gonna give this like 3 stars because sometimes you can't actually activate it and it just becomes a kind of like a 6 mana 2/2 weapon. It's kind of bad because, like, you know, you have to play this, armor up, you lose the armor, you armor up again later. So yeah, but the potential is definitely there. So overall, Warriors got some decent to mediocre cards. I think Warriors is still going to be pretty shitty because Warriors are Warriors. The hero power is not going to be that strong. So yeah, Warriors just going to be still average. Onwards to the neutral cards. These are the backbone of every card, so these are very important. Let's go ahead and start with the Guild Recruiter. It's a 5 mana 2/4. Battlecry recruits a minion that costs 4 or less. This is actually pretty fine, right? Like a 5 mana 2/4 that sometimes gets a 2-drop, 3-drop, or 4-drop is perfectly serviceable. Kind of reminds me of Silverhand Knight. And that's like a fine card in Arena. So yeah, decent 3-star card. I think you would not be unhappy to grab this card. Silver Vanguard is the next one. 7 mana 3/3. When she dies, you get an 8-cost minion. This is just garbage, right? Like if you have only one 8-cost minion in your entire deck, there's a 50% chance that this does not work because you're gonna draw the 8 cost before you draw this. And that's if you have one. Right? And it's a 7 mana 3/3. So you're just basically playing an 8-drop for 7 mana because the 3/3 doesn't really do much. That is just garbage. It's 0 stars. Hoarding Dragon is a 4 mana 5/6 dragon that gives your opponent 2 coins when it dies. This is really good, right? Giving your opponent 2 extra coins doesn't matter because if you think about it in a way, it's kind of like a 6 mana 5/6, right? 6 mana 5/6 dragon is completely fine. And your opponent has to kill this to get the coins. So you're kind of putting a little bit of pressure. So you get 2 mana first, and then your opponent gets 2 mana after they kill this. So I think Hoarding Dragon is pretty powerful, and I'm going to give this 4 stars. Cursed Disciple is 2 Magma Rages in 1. 4 mana 5/1 that when it dies it gets a 5/1. This is so good against classes that can't ping because they're just gonna cry. This is also mediocrely good against rogues and druids because they have to take face damage. I think Cursed Disciple is fine, and yeah, I think overall it's just really aggressively statted. Your opponent has to deal with this, so I'm gonna give this 3 stars. Fungalmancer is a 5 mana 2/2 that gives adjacent minions +2/+2. So it's kind of like a doppelgangster, but it requires you to have minions. I don't like this effect because it does have an immediate impact on the board, and the 2/2s, the +2/+2s have charge, but it requires a little bit too much. And the failure rate of this is too high, so I don't like this. I'm just gonna give this a 1 star. Sleepy Dragon is a 9 mana 4/12 taunt that is a dragon. This is just fine. Like it stabilizes the board, and you know, you kind of always pick this. Control decks would love this in Arena, and your opponent kind of has to deal with this. So Sleepy Dragon's fine. It's 3 mana. I'll give this 3 stars. Like serviceable common. Kobold Apprentice, 3 mana 2/1, casts Arcane Missiles as a battle cry. This is like fine. At first I really like this card, but as I look at it more, it's kind of a little bit awkward. It picks off some really decent stuff early game, especially you know, your Shallow Gravediggers or any of the new 1 health minions that are in the expansion. There's quite a bit, but it is very flimsy. It's a 2/1, so I'm just gonna give this 3 stars as well. I think this is a serviceable common as well. Boisterous Bard is a 3 mana 3/2 that gives all your other minions +1 health. So if it activates on 1 minion, it's pretty good already, and if it gets any more, then it's fine. So once again, this is like a, you know, it's once again those serviceable guards. So 3 star common. Corrosive Sludge is a 5 mana 5/5 destroy your opponent's weapon. Of course, we have another ooze now, and once again, 5 mana 5/5s are always relevant. And the fact that it destroys your opponent's weapon is also very relevant in Arena because weapon classes will always draft weapons. So yeah, this is actually a very decent card. I would actually give this a 3 stars. I think it's perfectly fine. Dire Maul is a 1 mana 1/3 beast with no text. Definitely worse than those 1 mana 1/3s that have text, but it is a beast, so you know, there's a little bit of synergy with the druids and the hunters, but I think this is more of a constructed card. So in Arena, I would not want to start off with this. 1 mana 1/3s tend to not do anything, so I'm gonna give this 2 stars. Dragon Slayer is a 3 mana 4/3 with battle card deals 6 damage to a dragon. Really strong because dragons are mostly auto picks, right? Every time you draft an Arena deck, you always pick your Primordial Drakes, you always pick your Scale Banes, you will always pick, you know, those legendary dragons or whatever. So this is just great. And even if it doesn't have a battle cry, it's a 3 mana 4/3, and that's perfectly fine. So once again, it's a 3-star card. Most of these cards that have like a very fringe effect that has very good stat line are just 3-star cards. Fungal Enchanter is a 3 mana 3/3 with battle cry restore 2 health to all friendly characters. This a lot of the time could be better than the Farseer, but at the same time, you're not gonna get too much value out of this. Sure, if you have a lot of minions that have really high health, then this gets better. And if you have minions that benefit from life gain, such as a lot of priest minions, then this also gets better. Yeah, this is just, once again, a fine card. You would think that this effect is really, really good, but realistically, this is not going to activate most of the time. So once again, it's a 3-star card. Green Jelly is a 5-mana 3/3 that at the end of your turn summons a 1/2 Ooze of Taunt. Now this one is really good because it's a recursive effect, and the token that you get is Taunt. So it's really hard to get rid of this Green Jelly, and the fact that it makes a Taunt minion every single turn means that if you have more Taunt minions after you play this, so for example, if you have a 6-mana Taunt like Ancient of Blossoms, then Green Jelly is just going to get you a lot of value over time. This is one that I really like, so I'm gonna give this 4 stars. This is a card that demands an answer from your opponent immediately, and if they do answer it, then they can't really curve out and stuff, right? So yeah, this is a good card. Plated Beetle is a 2-mana 2/3 beast that gains 3 armor when it dies. Once again, it's a 2-drop. 2-drops are really good in Arena. Gaining 3 armor doesn't do anything. You don't really care about that. So yep, 3-star typical Arena card. Sewer Crawler is a 3-mana 1/1. Summon a 2/3 giant rat. It's basically Razorfan Hunter reverse, so it's a Hunter Razorfan, and that is a very shitty card, so it's a 1-star card. Shroom Brewer is a 4-mana 4/4 that restores 4 health. This is actually a very good card. A 4-mana 4/4, once again, is very, it's like fine. Like, it's not insane or anything, but the fact that it restores 4 health can break so many board states, right? You cast this on one of your minions that just traded, and you made a 4/4 Death Speaker. You can also use this on your face in times of need, and you can also combo this in classes that can combo this with, like especially Priest, right? If Arcane Soul Priest, you can also combo this with like No Shard Cleric. This is really good. This is like premium 4-drop, 4-star card. Sneaky Devil is a 4-mana 2/2 demon, common. It has stealth, and your other minions have +1 attack. So it's literally a raid leader that's stealth. And is raid leader with stealth good? That you have to pay 1 extra mana? I mean, stealth does make it a little better because your opponent can't kill your raid leader and all your minions get a little bit stronger that way. But at the end of the day, I don't think this is going to affect the board too much. There are a few ways to kill this even without AoEs. So I think this is just mediocre actually. I'm just gonna give this 2 stars. Toothy Chest is kind of spooky. It's a 3-mana 0/4. At the start of the turn, you set this minion's attack to 4. It's actually pretty high risk, and as we know, 3-mana 4/4s are not really breaking the game. Helion Frostbrider is a 3-mana 4/4, and every time your opponent plays that card, you don't go like, oh my god, I just lost the game, right? This is really terrible if you are behind, or if you're playing against charge minions, and the fact that you can't Bone Marrow this makes this even worse. So I think Toothy Chest is actually terrible. I'm gonna give this like 1 star. It's still playable, but I think this is garbage. Trog Gloom Eater is a 5-mana 1/5 taunt poisonous. Very, very powerful. It's better than Venomancer because your opponent has to deal with it. And 1 attack and 2 attack is literally the same when you have a poisonous tag, right? So I think Gloom Eater is really good. I'm gonna give this like, man, 3 or 4. I think I'm just gonna give this a 3 stars. At the end of the day, it's really slow. You're not putting a lot of pressure on your opponent, but it's still a very good taunt minion. So I'm gonna give this 3 stars. Violet Worm is an 8-mana 7/7 beast. With Death Rattle, summon 7 1/1 grubs. So it's kind of like a delayed Onyxia effect. And I really, really like this card at the high end. The fact that your opponent can't actually ignore a 7/7 means that this Death Rattle trigger is going to pop up a lot of the time. There is a very interesting way to play with this card in the fact that if you want to trade this off, you should actually play your minions first. Like, if you want to play a Scale Bane, you should play a Scale Bane first and then trade this off because it does fill your board. And then you can't play anything else. So it's a little bit of a warning there. But Violet Worm is a very good top end card. And I would give it 3 stars. Wax Elemental is a 1-mana 0/2 Elemental with Taunt and Divine Shield. Why the hell would you play this? It's a shield bearer. You can buff it up and you go like, wow, it's so good. But then you can buff up any other minion in the game. This is just garbage. 0 stars. And finally, the last common is Stone Skin Basilisk. 3 mana 1/1 Divine Shield Poisonous. That's also a beast. This is actually pretty good in the fact that it kills something, right? It's kind of like a snail, or it's kind of like a wasp. That's really hard to kill. So I think Stone Skin Basilisk is gonna be fine. The fact that it's a 1/1 is a little bit awkward, but it's still a fine card. So I'm just gonna give this a 3-star card. Onwards to the rares. We have Fatal Jupiter. It's a 1 mana 1/1 that after this minion attacks a hero, add a copy of it to your hand while you're playing 1 mana 1/1s, and while you're drawing 1 mana 1/1s. This is garbage, 0 stars. You never want to put this in your arena deck. Next up, we have Lone Champion, 3 mana 2/4 Battle Cry. If you control no other minions, gain Taunt and Divine Shield. Very, very good card. The fact that you know, you can play this with no minions and make a very, very strong minion, and the fact that you can play this when you have minions and make a 3 mana 2/4 since you're ahead makes this card really powerful. I think this is a very good card. I think you would pick this highly, and I'll give this 4 stars. Hungry Etin is a 6 mana 4/10 taunt that summons a random 2-cost minion for your opponent. Very, very strong card because it's like an Ancient of War. Very nice statted because it has a lot of health and it has 4 attack, so that's very, very good attack. Obviously, you don't want to summon a poisonous minion for your opponent, especially not Patient Assassin, because you can't actually trade it off with your other minions. And then if you summon Doomsayer, it's kind of like sad, but you know, it's very, very strong card. Like if you kill your 2-drop with the Hungry Etin, you get a 6 mana 4/7 taunt, or 4 mana 4/8 taunt, and you know, it can actually randomly activate your removal spells, right? Like Hungry Etin and Consecration in turn 10. So I think this Hungry Etin is really strong. 4 stars. Furbolg Mossbinder is a 5 mana 1/1 that transforms a friendly minion into a 6/6 elemental. This might look really good at first glance because it's like a 5 mana 7/7, but the fact that you have to make one of your minions a 6/6 means that you lose that minion. So if you use it on a 2/2, you just get +4/+4, so you're making a 5 mana 5/5. And on top of that, you don't give it charge, so it's a little bit worse than Blessing of Kings. And on top of that, it also loses all text. So if you use it on something like a Death Rattle card, it loses the Death Rattle. So it's kind of like a trap. It's good in Priest when you can steal your opponent's minions and then transform into 6/6. But other than that, I don't think this is too good. I'm just gonna give this a 2 stars. Ebon Dragonsmith, 4 mana 3/4 dragon, reduces the cost of a random weapon in your hand by 2. A 4 mana 3/4 that gives you 2 innervates is pretty decent, and the fact that it's a dragon activates some of your other dragon stuff, which is pretty decent, like Bookworm, for example, or Historian. So this has 2 ratings. This is a 1 star in non-weapon decks, because a 4 mana 3/4 is exactly not what you want in your deck. And if you're playing weapons, I think this is not bad. This is like 3 stars. So it depends on if you're playing a weapon class or not. Scorpomatic is a 2 mana 1/2 rare. That's a mech, which is kind of weird. It destroys a minion with 1 or less attack. This is actually pretty strong. It can actually kill something and make a 1/2, and there are a lot of 1 attack minions in Arena. You can actually kill off a Validated Doomsayer or the new chest, or you know, a 1-drop or whatever. So Scorpomatic is fine. It's actually pretty decent. It is a very small body, and if it doesn't work, it's pretty shitty. But other than that, I think it's fine. I think you would give this a 3 stars. Oh, you can also pick off a Paladin token sometimes, which is good. Gravel Snout Knight is a 1 mana 2/3 that has a battle cry, summons a random 1-cost minion for your opponent. So you're effectively getting a 1 mana 2/3 that's overstated, and hopefully their 1 mana card is smaller, and it's usually smaller. I think this is a serviceable card, and very, very good in Arena because you can use your other minions to kill the 1 cost that you summon. It also activates a lot of good stuff, such as Potion of Madness, Mind Control Tech, your AoE spells. So I think overall this is a fine card. I'm gonna give this 3 stars. Kobold Monk is a 4 mana 3/6 common. It's the first 3/6 to be common, and your hero can't be targeted by spells or hero powers. Now that is actually a pretty good effect, right? Like imagine if you're dying and your opponent wants to fireball you in the face or kill command you or whatever. Like this is actually quite a reasonable effect. It doesn't usually do much, but the fact that you're playing a 4 mana 3/6 is pretty decent. So yeah, you're probably always gonna draft this card. This is gonna be 3. All right, and the last rare card we have is Shrieking Shroom, 3 mana 1/2. At the end of your turn, summon a random 1-cost minion. Once again, it's a recursive effect, so very, very strong. And if your opponent can't kill this and you summon another 1-cost, then it gets pretty ridiculous. So I think this is actually really good, especially on empty board. So once again, it's one of those cards that are really good. So 3 stars. Epic neutral cards include Carnivorous Cube. 5 mana 4/6, battlecry destroys a friendly minion, and Death Rattle summons 2 copies of it. This is actually really insane, right? The fact that if you can destroy a friendly minion that's Death Rattle means that you can not only get another copy of the Death Rattle minion, you actually trigger the Death Rattle a total of 3 times. Makes this really, really powerful. You can also not use the Battlecry and just play a 5 mana 4/6 and be pretty happy as well. Carnivorous Cube is really good. Really, really powerful. I'm gonna give this 4 stars. Just a great card. Rummaging Kobold is a 3 mana 1/3 that returns one of your destroyed weapons to your hand. The fact that it returns a destroyed weapon to your hand means that you have to cast the weapon again. Weapons are really strong, but you don't want to play a 3 mana 1/3. So once again, this gets 2 ratings. It's 0 stars in classes that don't have weapons, and it's 1 star in classes that have weapons. So it's not a big upgrade, even if you're playing a weapon class, so keep that in mind. Spiteful Summoner is a 6 mana 4/4 with reveal a spell from your deck, and then you get a Forbidden Shaping based on the cost. Really powerful card. Really, really good. I can't imagine a class other than Warrior that has a trouble finding actual spells. And the fact that it can actually summon an insane minion that can just end the game means that this can get pretty ridiculous. I think this is an easy 4-star card, and you don't even need to work for this. You don't have to purposely pick high casting spell costs, cards for this to work. You can just play it normally and then just get a random 3-drop, and it's really good. Grand Archivist is the 8 mana 4/7. At the end of a turn, you cast a spell from your deck. The problem of this card is that targets are random. So if you have anything like Fireball or anything like that, that's really bad. Another problem is that it actually pulls the card out of your deck. So say you high roll and get Flame Strike, well, you don't get to draw the Flame Strike again. So if you Flame Strike on a board that you don't really want to Flame Strike, then it's a little awkward for sure. Works really well with card draw spells, but at the end of the day, it's an 8 mana 4/7. So I'm not really a big fan of this. I'm just gonna give this 1 star. I don't like this 8-drop. Arcane Tyrant is a 5 mana 4/4 that costs 0 if you cast a spell that costs 5 or more this turn. This is actually really good because a 5 mana 4/4 is pretty bad, but the fact that it can be a 0 mana 4/4 on the turn that you cast a spell that costs 5 more is really good. Obviously better on classes that have a lot of high costing spells, such as Mage, such as Priest, you know, stuff like that. But yeah, overall, I think that you'll be not unhappy to play with this card. So I'm gonna give this 3 stars once again. Dragon Hatcher is a 9 mana 2/4 with at the end of your turn recruit a dragon. This can actually break a lot of decks. Because there is a lot of dragons at common now. There are Scale Banes at common. There's the 9 mana 4/12 at common. So the fact that this is a must kill is really, really nice. You do need a lot of dragons to make this work though. So I think this is really good if the class you're playing has a lot of dragons by itself already. But other than that, it's like a 2-star card, right? If you're playing a class with no class dragons, I think this is actually just 0. I don't think you actually want this. But if you're playing like Priest or wait, there's actually no more classes of dragons. Okay, so I think at the end of the day, there are not a lot of classes that have class specific dragon cards. So I'm just gonna give this a 0. And if you're playing Priest, I will give this a 2. Void Ripper is a 3 mana 3/3 demon with Battlecry. Swap the attack and health of all other minions. So it's a 3 mana 3/3 to cast Confuse. This is actually hard to abuse in Arena because most Arena cards have same attack and health. And it also changes everything, so you kind of have to maneuver this correctly. And it's not as insane as people think. It's still a 3 mana 3/3, so I think it's serviceable. I think it's a 3-star card. Shimmering Courser is a 4 mana 3/3 with only you can prevent forest fires. It's obviously better in buff decks because your opponent can't interact with it. But I think at the end of the day, 4-mana 3/3 is not what you want to do. And even if you're playing buff cards, you can just buff your other minions. So I don't like this card. I'm just going to give this 1 star. And finally, we have Corridor Creeper. It's a 7-mana 5/5, but it costs less whenever a minion dies while this is in your hand. Very not a big ask, right? Minions die all the time in Arena. They get removed, they get traded off, and this can be a very, very cheap 5/5. I would really want to play this card. I think this card is great, so I would give this card a 4 stars. I think this is really strong, especially when you're cheating the curve like that. The artwork is really gross though. And finally, we have the legendaries. Marin the Fox is an 8-mana 6/6 with summon a 0/8 treasure chest for your opponent, and if you break it, you get one of the more insane cards. You can change all your hand to legendary white minions. It's the Golden Kobold 3-mana 6/6. You can draw a card and fill your hand with copies of it. You can draw 3 cards and reduce them to 0, or you can discover a legendary minion and then summon 2 copies of it. Obviously, when you play Marin's Treasure, you basically win the game. But the fact that your opponent can actually interact with the 0/8 is a little problematic, right? They can buff it with Bone Mare, they can buff it with Scalebane, they can just do stuff with it. If they silence the 0/8, it's actually not that bad because they spend the silence on a card that's not really a card. So I think Marin the Fox is fine. I think you would still pretty much draft this because the fact that if you kill a 0/8, you kind of win the game is pretty nice. I wouldn't say it's premium, but I would say you're happy to play it. So that's the definition of a 3-star card. Zola the Gorgon is a 3-mana 2/2. Battlecry, choose a friendly minion, add a golden copy of it into your hand. So it's 3-mana 2/2, draw a card. If you have another minion on the battlefield, I'm not really excited about this card. Sure, you can draw a very good card like a Bone Mare or like one of those, you know, insane carnivorous cubes or whatever, but I mean, 3-mana 2/2 draw a card is not really breaking the card. And I think yeah, at the end of the day, you might just play a 3-mana 3/3 or like a 3-mana 2/4 draw a card. You don't need to be too cheesy and play this card. So yeah, I'm just gonna give this 2 stars. King Togwakol is a 8-mana 5/5 with Battlecry. Swap decks with your opponent. Give them a ransom spell to swap back. The ransom card is a 5-mana card that they can play to swap decks back, and when they ransom, you effectively played a 3-mana 5/5, right? This card is terrible because why are you swapping your deck with your opponent when you're playing Arena? So what, you're purposely gonna draft those shitty cards and then you're gonna play Tawako and then give them a shitty card? This is 0. This is easily the most garbage deck ever, right? So this is just garbage. Master Oakheart is a 9-mana 5/5 with Battlecry. Recruit a 1, 2, and 3 attack minion. This is utterly bonkers. It's 9 mana, make 4 minions, and it's not really hard to find 1, 2, and 3 attacks in Arena, okay? It might be very hard to find 1 attack minions, but Tar Creepers exist. So, and then the 1-drops exist like Madaworm and Northshire Clark. So I think this is insane. I think this is a YOLO Slam Jam 5-star card. It can just win the game by itself. And the last card, the Darkness. 4-mana 20/20. When you play it, it turns into a untargetable sphere, I'm guessing, and then you shuffle 3 candles into your enemy deck, and whenever they draw a candle, then they get to draw another card, so you actually don't get to, you know, ruin their card draw. But then when they get all 3, then you summon this, and then you can probably attack with this afterwards, right? So this is a 4-mana 0/0, right? And it's so hard to make Elise work already. At least the Trailblazer, right? At least the Trailblazer asks you to draw a single card from your deck, and that usually doesn't happen. And this is a 4-mana 0/0 that asks you to do it 3 times. Nah, this is trash. This is easy 0-mana card. Yay! We're